All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. You may hear some baby noises in the background. She's upstairs as opposed to out on the town at the moment. By the way, Rumble Award in the background, as you can see back there. I just did an unboxing earlier. I wanted to do that before the live stream. I knew it was going to come today, but, had to accede to the schedule. We'll see if we're actually live over here. I do see chat is working. We've got Lemon Curd Zero. Good morning, Clank and Clank on. Morgan Hevron says morning. And Ibales 87, Clank on, Clankdom. Cam2425IA on Rumble with a $50 donation. Thank you very much. Congratulations and thank you for championing Rumble. Yeah, I'm going to continue to. People should definitely hop over there. If you are not on Rumble, it is a place to be, especially for live streaming purposes. We've already got the 100K award over there. I'm wondering what the 225,000 subscriber award looks like. So we're definitely going to surge on ahead and see if we can get one of those. That's what I'm talking about. At some point, I will literally need a trophy wall or something like that. I'll need a display case. There were some available years ago, I remember in Rutland, actually, old display cases from a jewelry store I think was going out of business. I thought about getting one at the time, but didn't spring on it. Probably should have, though. I've also got other collections. I've got old colognes from the 1980s. Those are just a hobby of mine to collect. It's a little bit weird. And then also my wall scrolls. So, make a little mini museum or something like that. That would be fun. And yes, the brick on a string. There is chat on Rumble, on live streams. You may chat if you wish. Let's make sure that we're actually live, however. I think so. Yes, we are live on Rumble. And of course, more people are tuning in because the cat has decided to do its OnlyFans thing here. Always a big draw. We got to talk about R.L. Stine, Mitch McConnell, and centrists that the Biden camp is very worried about. By the way, tonight, I'm in a very good mood today. Not only did I get the Rumble Award, tonight is also sushi night. So I'm going to get eel tamaki, hand rolls, of course. Those are goddamn delicious. Fish eggs are great. Seaweed is great. Everything under the sun. Today is a day for celebration in the land of Clankdom, so no worries about that. Yes, I know. You're so stretchy. Long Dong John, silly Novak Djokovic. Doesn't he know all you have to do to get into the U.S. without the holy Fauci sauce is simply walk in across the southern border? Exactly. They don't check anyone down there. So yeah, let me show that off, actually. Oh, Jesus Christ. Now I end up breaking in the first day. I think it's fairly, Jesus. Yeah. 100,000 subscribers. Well, followers. It's listed on here. It's pretty sturdy. I think it's all metal, actually. It's fairly heavy. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Hashtag Clank Nation. Excellent. What cat breed is that? Says Het246. I have absolutely no fucking clue what breed of cat they are. One of the dumb ones, I think. One of the ones that doesn't fear water, though. I've tried the spray bottle out a couple of times. They ignore it completely. I literally watered the other cat, Farah. I took the watering can just on a whim when she was outside this last autumn, and I sprinkled it on top of her. She just sat there. She doesn't even give a shit. It's pretty funny. So, yeah, we'll go to the first news story. It's a high-energy day. And, of course, we're clanking as well. Rumble Award, BitChute Cup. Everything's good in the world. Sushi later. This is a fun one. We all heard a couple of days ago about how R.L. Stine was supposedly sanitizing his Goosebumps book series for a new generation of simpletons, for people who can't take the word crazy. They think that it's offensive. R.L. Stine accuses Scholastic of censoring Goosebumps books over mental health, weight, and ethnicity. Apparently, according to him, and he's come out and posted this actually on Twitter, he was not involved with this process. Unfortunately, if you've worked with brick and mortar publishers, it's a little bit different from like publishing on demand. Typically, I use Amazon Publishing on Demand. I've tried to work with publishers before, and things can get dicey. They can fall through or take ages, etc. I worked with Ouroboros, actually, on the Petit Albert, which is no longer available. I think all the copies sold. I worked with them, and that was an amiable experience. Brick and mortar publishing can be problematic, and the contracts can be a little bit weird. I'm assuming that R.L. Stine signed off on a contract effectively giving them printing rights in exchange for them being able to make small edits. The problem is that they're using those small edits in order to sanitize the language. The National Review reported that the alterations to Stine works include changing the word plump to cheerful, which literally makes no sense, and the word crazy to silly, which is effectively a synonym. There is also a character who is described as dressing like a dark and stormy night for Halloween, but Scholastic removed the description of the character wearing black face paint. Yes, because of course, dressing up for Halloween is exactly like blackface. Weight references have also been altered. Lizzo is very happy about this, with descriptions of having at least 6 chins, looking like a bowling ball, and having squirrel cheeks being completely omitted from Stine's series. The description of a real nut was changed to a real wild one. Well, at least that's kind of sensible. And nutcase has been converted to weirdo, per the National Review. I'm not sure exactly how that's helpful to anyone, but, bravo to them for their Stalinization of language. R.L. Stine originally was being attacked for this. It's like, oh my God, you're rewriting your books to be woke. He's come out and said he's effectively nuked his publisher from orbit. He said, this was done without my consent. I had no clue this was even going on. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And he's been fairly vociferous. Go to his Twitter if you don't believe me. Half the responses recently are to people with concerns about this. Now, as a millennial, I do not have 90s nostalgia. The 90s to me is, as a kid who was on the lower end, lower echelon as far as income goes, it wasn't a time of IRC chat rooms and, stuff that a lot of other people were into. It wasn't a time of the really great rock music, actually. Normally, it was a time of Sheryl Crow and the Macarena and the Taco Bell dog and Dell PCs and stuff. That was fun. And Goosebumps, things like that. Goosebumps was a big part of my childhood. I couldn't even tell you how many editions that I had. Probably 40 or so of the books in total between the Series 2000, like the Choose Your Own Adventure stuff and the standalone books. It'd probably be about 35, 40 editions. I was really big on Goosebumps. Hardly a day would go by for several years there when I wouldn't have one of the books in my backpack going to school. Because, of course, during lunchtime or whatever, I'd like to sit and read because it was fun. The books were fun. They were a springboard for literally millions of kids to get in on the horror genre in a way that was edgy and spooky and a little bit out there, but it was still young adult and sub-young adult friendly. And R.L. Stine really did tick all of the fucking possible boxes with regards to his material. They were exceptionally good. I remember The Barking Ghost, actually, was the one that really got me as far as being actually spooky, because at the time I was afraid of dogs. Once I realized that I was 6'2", that sort of went by the wayside. But at the time, as a little kid, and I thought that was spooky. I liked Camp Jelly Jam. That was a funny one. That was more on the humorous side than anything else. All of them. I don't think there was a Goosebumps book that I ever read that I didn't like. I can't recall any of them. And the Choose Your Own Adventure ones were funny too. Trying to make it through the book without your character getting killed effectively. It's very, very interesting. There were book clubs and all sorts of shit. And people who are younger than that like you're not a core millennial or older, you probably don't quite understand. Or if you're older than that, maybe you don't understand either because you were already reading adult literature. For people in my age range, like at the moment, like 30 to 40, thereabouts, and I'm right in the core of that, Goosebumps was a big thing. I am very, very glad that R.L. Stine did not go woke. Now, I'm very, very glad that he's pushing back even on his own publisher about this and effectively throwing them under the bus. This dude's going to lose money because of the fact that he's doing this, because he has so much brand loyalty. R.L. Stine is effectively a family goddamn name for people in my age range. For him to push back on the publisher and say, look, I didn't know this was happening. It happened without my consent, means that his sales will be lower on those new releases. unless they decide to reverse course like the Roald Dahl publisher decided to do. And that's, of course, the hope. It doesn't need to be sanitized. There's literally no reason whatsoever under the goddamn sun to worry about someone being described as being plump or something like that. The wokeness is horrific. It's a pile of bullshit. R.L. Stine deserves credit for standing against them. Again, this is his publisher under contract, and he's saying that he doesn't know anything about what the fuck was going on in their stupid minds when they decided to wokeify a bunch of classic books. Every single book that he put out in the series is a goddamn classic. Name one that's not. Night of the Living Dummy and shit like that. That was great. And then you had the series. The TV series, by the way, was really good as well. I like R.L. Stine a lot. I can't think of any of his works that I didn't enjoy as a kid. Even as a young adult, when I was a little bit older, I would still read some Goosebumps books. I'm extremely glad that he's decided to stand and fight this bullshit. The Defamation League. Elon Musk is woke. Banned again for stating facts. We'll be talking about Elon later. He has gone rogue on the J6 issue. Count Mills, do not forget to join Sleazy, live from the bunker on Rumble, where the holy trinity of crack, clank, and salt reigns supreme. Glory to the House of Sticks. Yes, Sleazy P. Martini, also on Rumble, after having been banned from YouTube for literally no legitimate reason. Mr. Avila, Goosebumps, better than Animorphs. I would agree completely. God, how many of those fucking books in the series were made? I think it was 70 or 80 or something like that. Khalid Cooper said, Clank. Thank you very much. Sigilstone 17 on Rumble. Morning, Sticks. Rumble needs to be less of a piece of shit and show you're live immediately instead of 5 minutes after you start. And pray for me. I got to get a spinal tap today to look for signs of MS. Good luck. Yeah, you have my sword on that one. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, actually. I wouldn't even wish it on Mitch McConnell, which we'll be talking about in a minute. Rumble, as far as the notifications go, they can be a little bit more slow, but it is still a great platform. Sigilstone 17 again. Speaking of Roald Dahl, ownership of his material was sold part and parcel to Netflix a couple years ago. It's Netflix wokeifying Roald Dahl. I thought there was a publisher for the actual literature and that Netflix was more like if you wanted a film adaptation. That was my understanding. I could be wrong, though. Aaron Nuclear, I hope you're well. I ordered biltong from Anton's, which arrives tomorrow. I will tell you how it goes next week. Yeah, I would. Anton, my dude, send me an online order form if you ship to the Netherlands. I will buy some food. The Patriot Chiro, love Goosebumps. Night in Terror Tower was so scary to me. That was a good one. I would say the Barking Ghost was my favorite. And I can't remember, was it called just The Mask or something like that? The second one of those was pretty scary. And what the fuck was it? The Werewolf of Fever Swamp I liked. As you can tell, I like the ones with like cryptids, basically. Camp Jelly Jam was funny. At times a little bit on the weird side, but it sort of worked. I kind of liked them all, though. Metal Mario 86. Sticks, where do you get your news aggregated from? To say I'm beyond tired of the Google News feed is an understatement. Use a combination of RCP, Real Clear Politics, that's a great aggregator, Politically Incorrect on 4chan, and potentially 4chan's news page. That's the best advice I can give. Gerald Armstrong, Fear Street or Goosebumps? I am Team Goosebumps on that one. Well, I think I did read some of the Fear Street stuff. I preferred Goosebumps overall. The Patriot Chiro, Are You Afraid of the Dark was also creepy. I loved that fucking show. If I can say one nostalgic thing about, the mid to late 90s / early 2000s, they sort of run together. The paranormal young adult side of things was superb. As opposed to today, the only thing that comes close is like the independent, like the St. Brigida, like spooky stories and shit like that you get on YouTube and places like that. What's your favorite Goosebumps episode? The Haunted Mask was the other one, Caleb Gamer. There was one, I can't remember the name of it. And the kid, spoiler alert, I'm going to try to recall this. The kid was sent to like a camp of some sort. And there was a monster that was trying to attack people. And in the end, he stands up to like the camp counselors and shit. And like tries to kill one of them, and it was all a test in the end. He was actually, I guess, living on Mars or the moon or something. And at the end, you see like Earth off in the distance in the sky, and it's like, oh, well, your parents are very happy. You're prepared, you know, you've shown good judgment. You're ready for the trip to Earth, which is a dangerous place or something like that. And I can't remember which one it was. I think that was a two-parter. The Great Scalzini, Senator Turtle, who are you going to believe? Your lying eyes or my turtle flower-filled honker? Steven Nizek, Erie, Indiana was a decent kids' horror show. I fucking loved Erie, Indiana. It only ran for one season. The second doesn't count because it did not have its main protagonist, which actually was the same kid, Omri Katz, from Hocus Pocus. He was getting a little bit older at that point, so they sort of cycled him out. He ended up leaving Hollywood. Erie, Indiana was an absolute gem of that piece of time, and they never should have goddamn canceled it. The problem, and I've explained this before in brief, is that Nickelodeon and Disney and all of these other companies did not have really a young adult category back in the end of the 90s. That arrives in the mid-2000s. And so at the time, you jumped straight from Looney Tunes to PG-13. And so you had an entire category of people, roughly from the 9 to 10 to 13-ish demographic, who wanted something that was a little bit more edgy than little kid stuff. They didn't want to watch that, but their parents wouldn't let them watch the older stuff. So you had this enormously overpowered category that exists today called the Y7 through young adult sort of thing that did not exist. There was no attempt to brand to them. And so you get Hocus Pocus. Is it a kid's movie? It's a little bit too edgy for that. There's some violence. There are some romantic references and sexual ones too, like to Yabos. Omri Katz, again, starring. There's a little bit too much edginess for little kids, but there's not quite enough to call it PG-13. And so these movies and series fell through the cracks for a number of years before they realized, hey, the power of the 10 to 13 demographic is the strongest of all demographics of all. This tiny demographic is so massively disproportionate if you can brand them successfully. And so unfortunately, you ended up with a very large amount of very good material that fell completely flat. Parents wouldn't let little kids watch it. Older kids didn't want to watch it because there's no branding attempt. Really, really sad too. It destroyed careers, including Omri Katz's career. He was also in, was it Escape from Dinosaur Kingdom, I think was his debut. He was the little kid in that. I thought it was fun. It got panned at the time, but I thought it was entertaining. It was sort of in that late 80s, like Muppets thing, like a Dark Crystal sort of feel. I could talk all day about this, but I should probably get to some news at some point. Steven Nizek. Oh, I already read that one. Erie, Indiana. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. Crucial Bunny. Who's got the Dunkaroos and Mondo? We've got some, let's see. On Rumble. Sigil Stone 17. There's a publisher that owns Road Doll's copyrights. That's what Netflix bought in its entirely. Oh, they bought him out completely? Well, I look forward to that woke series. Boy, oh boy, that'll be a real humdinger, won't it? Null Hypothesis. Establishing a rant payment here. Oh, there'll be many more rants. Sometime I'll do like a 2-hour Rumble-only live stream and I'll just rant about movies or some shit when prompted. John Hoyle, congrats on your Rumble Awards. Still remember your YouTube Silver one, but they've tarnished a bit since those days. Yeah, the new ones don't look as good as the old ones, although I will give YouTube credit. The new Gold Awards do look a lot better than the old ones. The old ones were massive and required several hangers in back and apparently have a penchant for falling off the wall because they're so heavy. So they downsized it. They made it a little bit more reasonable. For that one, I suppose it makes sense. The new Silver Awards, I'm glad I was at the very ass end, like the last couple of months, that they were giving out the old school Silver Awards. I'm very happy to have one. The Patriot Chiro, welcome to Camp Nightmare. Yes, that was the one. Oh, I love that. Soaring Bum, New Mexico. Depeche Mode comments, good music is missed. I have never found a song by Depeche Mode or any of its members, by the way, Wilder, fucking Gore, anyone in the band that I didn't like. It is literally perfect. It's not all A+ material, but literally everything there is at least reasonably listenable. I can't think of another band or solo artist that ticks that box. Next news story. Dear Mitch McConnell, you were not elected to do the bidding of Chuck Schumer and CNN. Yes, insert image of Mitch McConnell digging for dingleberries in Chuck Schumer's asshole, actually. He's decided to cut completely. He's total mask off moment for Mitch McConnell. The other day he comes out and he castigates Tucker Carlson for like one of the few things Tucker has done that's legit, which is exposing some more J6 footage and saying, look, the tales about J6 that you were told are not entirely accurate. There is countervailing evidence that there was no insurrection here. Mitch McConnell and others, and to his credit, Kevin McCarthy absent from this list, which actually surprises me. McConnell coming out and said, well, it was a mistake to release this footage. I think I need to be more turtle-like and roll my words more. It was a mistake to release this footage. I'm trying my best. Give me a goddamn round of applause or something. Coming out and castigating Tucker Carlson, rambling about Fox, rambling also, and more importantly, about the people that are absorbing that material and saying, look, there are questions about J6. It's not a cut and dry case. Like the sanitized message that was presented by the J6 committee is the gaslighting. It is the cherry picking. Now you want to say that Tucker Carlson is cherry picking. No, he's releasing, you already have the other stuff. He's just releasing more additional material. How is that cherry picking? Like he's going to release the same things that were already dug through by the J6 committee over the course of 2 years? That would make a lot of sense. Then Mitch McConnell falls down the other day at, I guess, a fundraiser or a Senate meeting or some shit. And we don't know exactly what his medical condition is at the moment. So the Trump curse has struck again. It's interesting, that Trump curse. It keeps happening. All these people keep fucking falling down, but he's like, what, 82 years old or something like that. So it's not a huge surprise. I have a feeling in the wake of the Fox News release, he said, oh God, not again. And he went over to party with Nancy Pelosi. And between his cocaine and her Chardonnay, he just completely lost it and, fell down the stairs or something. And I'm just imagining Mitch McConnell, who is commonly referred to as Yertle the Turtle, because he looks like a turtle and acts like one too. Always slow out of the gate, doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. I'm just imagining him falling down, and he's lying on his back literally like a turtle, slowly waving his arms and legs in the air, waiting for someone to help him up. Now, I don't like wishing for harm to other people. I don't think it's ethically appropriate. Once they're dead, you can laugh about them, like John McCain or something like that. But Mitch McConnell is presumptively at least still alive. So I'm not going to do that. I think I speak for the majority of the American public, though, when I say I am utterly ambivalent as to whether he can return to his duties as the Senate Minority Leader. I think that a significant plurality of Republicans, a large number of Democrats, and virtually every independent and other group in the country does not wish him to be in the Senate. And they never should have reelected him anyway. His time has come and gone. He's had his last laugh, which is throwing a bunch of Senate and House races in the 22 election. And so he's got his, and now he's having falls and other problems. And it was funny. You may recall in my stream literally the other day when I talked about, that time that he randomly showed up with purple hands. His hands were all bruised up. It looked like he was having, some sort of vascular disorder of some major kind. And I talked about that literally the other day in the context of, you remember the Queen of England? She had her bruised purplish hands a couple of days before she passed. And then Mitch McConnell all of a sudden randomly falls, and we don't know his injuries, the extent thereof, or how long it'll take him to recover. Quite mimetic now, isn't it? Aussie's Robots. Did Fox censor Tucker's J6 footage, part 2? I'm sure that they did. You're not going to get the whole truth from Tucker Carlson, but you are getting a little bit more truth than you had before. And for someone on a legacy network that has to straddle that line, that's about as best as you can expect. Nashville Cat 66 sent $1. No comment. Thank you very much. The great Scalzini had to say turtle flower in last SC because YouTube censors. As he's been stirring around his small wee-wee, his turtle dick in the flower. Sigilstone 17. Kentucky gives us both Bitch McConnell and Rand Paul. Top reason why I'm so wary of Rand. Can't be an anomaly. They're from the same state. I trust Rand Paul. I trust his judgment. I've seen enough from him, enough statements from him, enough bills from him, etc., to say that I would genuinely like him to continue in politics. Mitch McConnell, he's only been reelected because he's already the incumbent. He's a relic of the past era. He's basically like the right-wing version of Nancy Pelosi. Cocaine and all. You remember that time his yacht was impounded because it had, what, 10 million of cocaine or some shit on it? Brick after brick of solid, pure cocaine was on his yacht. And nobody even thought to follow up that story from the legacy media. I wonder who was snorting the cocaine. Fubar 2020. I have no sympathy for Mitch. Hope he is forced to resign. Yeah, if he resigned, that'd be great. You know, we'll see who comes after him. Probably be just as bad, but we could have Rand Paul leading the Senate minority. I think that would be a great idea. Next news story. Fellow centrists warn No-Labels 2024 bid would hurt Joe Biden. Yes, apparently the idea is that there are a group of centrists that don't like Trump, they don't like Biden, they don't like the two-party system in general. Independent voters are outsizedly important now in a way that they haven't been really for a generation. In the last election, you saw a double-digit increase in the number of non-aligned voters. So they're not Democrats or Republicans anymore. Now, they were always there and they were always only soft supporters, but they've softened their support even more. It's now a double-digit proportion of the electorate, a significant one. If they choose to back somebody who is third party, the worry is here among these so-called centrists that it's going to hurt Joe Biden. Oh my God, you're accidentally going to get Trump reelected. You can't win the general election, but you can act as a spoiler. The ultimate glory to me, the ultimate win of all fucking time, the greatest thing that I can think about as a content creator is that we go into the 24 election and Joe Biden and Donald Trump are the nominees, or Donald Trump is facing off against maybe Kamala, I suppose. And you end up with a Ross Perot style situation, but this time it affects primarily the Democratic Party. And by the skin of his teeth, Donald Trump ends up getting elected Grover Cleveland style. So you've got a Grover Cleveland non-consecutive term that was caused by a spoiler candidate. Can you imagine the amount of salt that would flow? Can you imagine the implosion of the minds of tens of millions of liberal partisan voters around the country? It would make 2016 look like a boring election. It would make it look like 2012 or something like that. It would be the ultimate win of all goddamn wins. And to see Trump, and here's my expectation if this happens, and there is a real possibility of this situation happening, to see him stand there when he's taking office, taking the oath, with a smug smile, as if to say, lol, you lose, would probably, there'd be people creaming their pants at that point because it would be so goddamn amazing. 4chan would be amazing. Twitter would be amazing. Reddit would be amazing. Hell, the darkest, dirtiest, shittiest corners of the net like Tumblr would be amazing on that particular day. It would be the best thing for the country. It would be the best thing in history. So I'm hoping that their warning comes true. See, I kind of sort of agree with them. I'm not sure. It depends sort of on what that centrist platform runs on. Ultimately, though, it probably would hurt Joe Biden. And to see him denied re-election by the skin of his teeth in a squeaker by one state or something like that because of a Ross Perot-style independent candidacy being launched against the two-party system would be the tastiest thing of all. It'd be tastier than the perfect medium rare steak. Sorry, Razor Fist. Be tastier than pineapple pizza. Be tastier than the sushi I'm going to eat later. Oh my God, how I hope that happens. Oh boy. The Grizzly, do you think that the woke coast will go full Rust Belt over the coming years? Possibly parts of it, due to crime mainly. Spike 11117, thoughts on Thomas Massey replacing McConnell? That would be acceptable. I prefer Rand Paul myself over all other comers. Soaring Bum, New Mexico, all clankers and salt shakers should support Rand, but hold his feet to the fire. Rand is one of the few people who I don't think you have to do much fire feet holding. Actually, he seems to stick to his guns. He has consistently for a very long time. He's Ron Paul's son, so that gives him a little bit of an impetus. Yeah, I think that he's a good man. While his father is more formidable, at least so far as politics goes, I like Rand Paul. I like the cut of his jib. I would love for him to be Trump's running mate, although I think that's a long shot. In the future, I'd love to see him mount another presidential bid. He would have my support on day one. I would do pretty much anything to see a President Rand Paul. I think it would be great. Null hypothesis. Can you imitate the whiny Chuck Schumer? No, let me go take estrogen for a week, and then I'll be able to pull off a Chuck Schumer impression. At least Mitch McConnell has that low, gravelly turtle voice. You know, he's got one positive thing about him. That's pretty much the only positive thing about it. It's Mitch McConnell. We'll say no more. By the way, there are 5,000 people watching live right now, about half of which are on Rumble. I wonder why. Wolf on the Plains. Tim Pool is doing his show from Congress tomorrow night. You should go into his chat and pose questions to the representatives for him to ask. That would be fun. Yeah, maybe, or at least Clankers can show up and bombard him with questions. I'll pre-write one and pop it on Twitter later, maybe. I'll just contact him and say, hey, Tim, ask Rand Paul this uncomfortable question or something. That'd be funny. End up trolling one of them. You should call up on the live C-SPAN and do a Baba Booey sort of thing. Sigilstone 17. Next presidential debate, Trump v. Biden. First question, gentlemen. Wait, what's this? Oh my God, it's Jeb with the steel chair. Yeah, Jeb out of nowhere. It'd be funny if he ran again. He might be crazy enough to do so. Never put anything past a Bush. Nikki Haley, coming with the obvious here. Nikki Haley, spending is out of control, and Democrats and Republicans share the blame. We'll sit on this for just a moment. Nikki Haley, hasn't she been in government before? She ever speak out against it before? Not really, not for the most part. Oh, Nikki Haley, trying to establish a camaraderie with independent disaffected voters. Talk about stating the goddamn obvious. I don't think that there's even a partisan voter at this point, Democrat or Republican, that doesn't realize that both parties, at least fiscally, are responsible for the mess we're in. Democrats are in denial about the state of the economy for partisan reasons, but I think they understand that missteps have been made. Republicans, even the neocon Republicans, I think universally understand at this point that things are fucked up. Nikki Haley, and I'll talk about her briefly here because she's only worth brief mention, then we'll get on to more important things. Nikki Haley basically at this point is John Bolton with a vagina, and that's basically her selling point. Her selling point is, hey, I want to get us involved in more wars. I'm like George W. Bush if he didn't pretend to be mentally retarded. I'm George W. Bush if he didn't choke on a pretzel. I'm Mitt Romney if he weren't currently in Congress. That's Nikki Haley in a nutshell. I keep going back to this. What is her coalition? Like, what does she actually hope to achieve with regards to a presidential run? The only thing that I can circle back around to is that she wants to sell books. She wants to get attention. Being an also ran, hey, at least you ran a presidential campaign. Some tens or hundreds of thousands of people thought you should be the nominee. You can go and sell gold on Fox News. You can get a guest slot on some network or something like that. I think that's really what she's aiming for. I don't think it's a serious presidential bid. Somehow, despite it not being a serious presidential bid, she comes in third or fourth place in straw polls. She's actually rumored to be at least on the list for a VP slot under Trump or DeSantis, which I think would be absolutely a terrible idea. If Trump wanted to torpedo himself, he would take up Nikki Haley as his running mate. Carrie Lake would be a better idea. Tulsi fucking former Democrat Gabbard would be a better idea than Nikki Haley. Basically, your entire selling point is, hey, I want more war. If you want more war, if you do not want to attempt to prevent World War III from happening, like you're a real hardcore Fallout fan and you've gone a little bit over the deep end, you no longer think of it as just a video game franchise, you should vote for me. I'll make World War III a reality. Hoorah, America, my freedoms. It's basically her selling point. Now, I would prefer Carrie Lake over Nikki Haley any day. I think that the average person with a 3-digit IQ sum probably does. Josh, can you ask Stolas to curse the globalists? Oh, they've already cursed themselves. They're already having enough problems. Next news story, something a little bit more substantial than Nikki Haley whining, stating the obvious for political clout to the low-info voters that support her. Your children belong to you, not a school. If you don't fight, you will lose them. Wokeness is taking over our educational institutions and society. It aims to separate parents from children, and we must fight it. Now, I wanted to point this out. This is Fox, so it's controlled opposition media. I wanted to point out something a little bit different. Yes, the schools are going woke and therefore being intellectually broke. They are attempting to indoctrinate children. This is fairly clear. And it's all based on bullshit. It's Marxist revisionism with CRT. It's pornographic material in some cases, at least. It's crazy. It makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't uplift anyone, and it just makes society weaker. That being said, I would like to say your children do not fundamentally belong to you. Don't frame the debate in that context. Yes, that's great for outreach to parents. You should also outreach to other people that don't feel that way by saying it's also the child's choice. The child has the fundamental right to be taught things in the objective sense that are true. So 1 + 1 = 2. Here's how DNA works, etc., etc. They don't need anything further than that other than the ability to think critically. If we went back in the schools to teaching critical thinking and civics, we'd be halfway to the to solving the problem. If people thought critically and understood the civic backbone of Western civilization, I can't imagine that they would be endorsing critical race theory at all anyway. Unfortunately, that's not the trajectory we're on. You're not going to be able to fight that by simply making it a parents' rights issue. That helps. It helps with people who are old enough to vote. You also have to focus, and this is the one biggest problem with the right wing. They're always focusing on the people that can already vote. They're not focused on trying to change the minds of people who will vote in the goddamn future. For all of its excesses, problems, its logical and rhetorical fails, the left has one big advantage over the right wing in the Western world. They target children, sometimes in a groomer manner, sometimes just in an intellectual one. They aim to indoctrinate children into their worldview at a very young age in hopes that it sticks. Now, in many cases, eventually that wears off. In some cases, it doesn't. And it is an intergenerational struggle. It's an intergenerational attempt by communists, literally communists. The right wing has no apparent counterfoil for this. They're not trying. Libertarians do a better job of outreach to people who are more young because they don't care about who you vote for because they know they won't win. So it's more of an ideological struggle. If you're talking about people who have more of a standard conservative viewpoint, they only seem interested in whining and dining the parents. Well, what do the children do? When the parents say, no, you're not going woke, no, you're not allowed to do this, that, and the other thing, what do the kids do? They rebel against it. The kids say, no, you can't, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me, effectively. And also there's a lot of baby noise back up there, so I'll probably cut this a little bit short, I think. I don't know that I'll be able to continue. I think she's actually in for her nap at this point, if I'm reading the time correctly. A crafty Huragok sent $1. No comment, thank you. Velen Rye, Daddy Sticks, congrats on the Rumble Award, my dude. Thank you very much. I'm very proud of it. Keep in mind that all of you contributed to this as well. Champion Magnus, morning. What do you think about Oregon counties wanting to secede? Glad I live in Florida. I can't blame them. Also send some clankers my way, please. I do gaming and pew-pews. Thanks, Clank. There you go. You've got a little shout out there. I support the Greater Idaho movement, but I do not expect it to be successful in the end. And then the final one, please don't send any more super chats. I'm going to have to cut off the last couple here, actually, because I don't want to keep the baby up when it's nap time. Trust me, that is not a good idea. Sigil Stone 17, when it comes to going on shows, weren't you going to be on Lotus Eaters once upon a time? But I think you and them would agree too much. You should go on Russell Brand. I'd be willing to go on either. I think I also have an open invitation for Tim Pool's show. So yeah, as you can hear, nap time has begun, and if I continue to talk, it's going to distract things. So I'm going to go offline now and wait for my sushi. One last one, musically assured destruction. Everyone needs to get creative and compelling in spreading anti-globalist and anti-Marxist arguments in a way regular people can understand. Agreed completely. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully at a slightly better time and with a full docket. That's about all. Peace out.